Good morning, everyone. Um, I wanted today to kind of talk through kind of the BSVA's roadmap for their tools, and then kind of what the road ahead is for both Yours Wallet and the One Set Indexer to get it more in line with this vision, because it actually is very, very close to what we've already got. And so I want to kind of talk through first generally the whole vision, and then dig into a little more the pieces where One Set Indexer and Yours Wallet are going to get upgraded to kind of fit that vision. So I guess I'll just start off with kind of a high level. This is Degan's drawing, by the way. He did a great little 15-minute overview of this. I shared it on my Twitter page 2 weeks ago, maybe. He does a great synopsis. I'm just going to dig into it a little more with kind of specifics on. Why won't it let me zoom in here? There we go. With specifics on kind of the areas that touches my stack. So I guess I'm going to talk to this first from the standpoint of like Yours Wallet. So Yours Wallet, first of all, is kind of two things. It is an interface for an application to be able to speak to a wallet. And then it is also a web extension that maintains some of your UTXOs and kind of your transaction history and the information that is. So it's basically, it's got a user interface of its own that you can, let me actually just pull it up. Should have been prepared with this. So it's got a user interface of its own right here, where it'll show my tokens and there we go. Show my token balance, it'll show my BSV balance, it'll show my ordinals balance, but also provides an interface where a website can kind of make a request to it. And so you're running in a web page and it says, okay, I want to send this transaction. It'll send a request to Yours Wallet, which will then pop up Yours Wallet and allow you to give permission to sign a transaction or whatever. I think if I go to like Tree Chat, that'll explain that API a little bit. So okay, I say log in with Yours Wallet. It goes out, it communicates with Yours Wallet, asks if I want to trust this site. I say I do. And then it communicates to get me to sign a message. Messages authorized Tree Chat logon at whatever. Yes, I'm going to sign that. And there's my Tree Chat. Okay. So essentially, and that's kind of the main area, like this functionality, the drop down keeps track of your balance, gives you like, this is almost a separate layer. Like there's the underlying area where it stores your keys, it stores information about you. And then this is almost kind of like an application layer that sits on top of that data to be able to present it to you and allow you to do stuff with it. But that's not really the core of kind of the storage of yours. That's an application built on top of the underlying infrastructure. That's kind of confusing. Yeah, I guess we'll stick with the kind of the Tree Chat idea that says there's an application. I'm just going to a web page. It's its own thing. It doesn't know anything about me. It doesn't know anything, but it can communicate with Yours Wallet to get information about, essentially to authenticate, to log in, to get my balance, to interact in various ways. So let's actually dig in. Oops. Nope. How do I move this? There we go. Okay, so essentially in this example, Tree Chat is this front-end application. It's a standalone web page. It's a mobile app. It's a whatever. It's an application that wants to communicate with a wallet. And so where did my mouse go? There it is. How do I make this into a point? Whatever. So it has an interface, and right now there is an interface for yours, which is what TreeChat's doing. But one of the things I was looking through last week is like this, the wallet toolkit and the wallet infrastructure stuff. And the wallet toolkit or toolbox, tool something, is basically this wallet SDK little blob right here. So that's an interface that gets kind of injected into your front end that provides the communication mechanism to your keys and to your wallet. And then yours is this wallet part. And it kind of does all the Bitcoiny heavy lifting stuff happens within the wallet. So then in this diagram here, there's this concept of a wallet speaking externally to a wallet storage mechanism. So wallet storage is basically saying, okay, I've got my yours wallet on my one computer. It has got my UTXOs, it's got my transaction history stored locally. I need to sync that with something outside of my browser, such that if I also have my wallet on my phone, they will know about the same history. They'll know about the same UTXOs, the same transactions. They'll be able to share the same data. And so wallet storage here is an external piece still run by you, or that you've offloaded to someone else, or it's a service provider or whatever. So this could be something I stand up for myself in AWS or in Cloudflare or in name a cloud provider. Cloudflare is probably a bad example, but it was on the top of mind for other things. So, and I guess let me take one more step back. I realize this isn't very linear, but right now there's a huge reliance in yours wallet on the OneSat indexer to kind of just populate all your historical data. So when you go into yours wallet, you import some of your old keys, it's got to get all your history. And that is an area where right now there is definitely some syncing issues, we'll say. And again, there's yours wallet to this point has been mostly kind of like me, or the back end in it. Dan is on the front end stuff. The back end of it is essentially me been trying to build out the infrastructure on my own that is now defined in this BSVA standard. I think I probably should have thought this through before I jumped into this stream. So essentially, there are some updates that need to get done to yours wallet to support this standard SDK, to support this wallet storage. But the big picture is really, you should not ever be relying on something that on the OneSat indexer to tell you about what your wallet has. That is all in the scope of you and you knowing that. And right now, there's still a pretty heavy reliance on yours wallet going out saying, hey, OneSat indexer, what do I have? What do I have? Well, that's all based on an idea that says the OneSat indexer is going to know everything that happened on the chain. And right now, it does a pretty good job of making sense of transactions that are fed into it, but it doesn't have any concept that says, I'm going to just know about everything that happens on the chain. It's got this kind of lazy indexing method where basically various different data sorts can tell it about transactions. And once it knows about a transaction, it'll go out and find all the information and make sense of what it is. But there's still right now a very, very heavy reliance from our wallet to essentially what we'll get to in a second of an overlay service that is the OneSat indexer. But OneSat indexer is not really currently built as a true overlay service. It's just more of an indexer. So what I really want to start doing over the next several months is kind of ripping this stuff down to its studs, which isn't nearly as big as it sounds, and really building it out as an example of this BSVA produced distributed application stack. So in that, I mean, I've gone over last week both wallet storage and overlay services TypeScript projects. And those are going to be kind of the basis for what gets built into here. Now, within Yours Wallet, the wallet toolbox project that's out there should be able to be integrated pretty directly. And there's going to need to be some updates in Yours to facilitate that, but the infrastructure it's got in place is actually kind of like a cross between this wallet storage and the overlay service. So maybe let me go into a little more details in these. So overlay service, like in the big picture of this diagram, the overlay service is, let's say I've got a community that really cares about the lockup contract, the locks on chain. And so community members who care about that can set up these overlay services and say, every transaction that flows here, I want to recognize if this transaction is a lock. And that's all it cares about. So transactions are fed to it either from users broadcasting through it. So in a tree chat or Hodlocker type example, those services would have their own servers and users would go and say, I want to create a post. And so in the application, they would create a post. They would build that post into a transaction. They would communicate over the wallet SDK to say, hey, I need to pay for and sign this transaction. The wallet would then sign it, and it would do two different things. It would store it in its storage, and it would return it to the overlay or over the SDK for Tree Chat to be able to broadcast this transaction. Actually, I probably oversimplified that. The broadcast can work like it kind of depends on your use case, what you're doing. If my transaction is I'm sending a payment to someone else, there are cases where the wallet itself will do the broadcast. Let's stick with the idea, though, that says this is a Tree Chat post. So Tree Chat needs to get this transaction back. So the wallet might get it, it might broadcast it, it might not broadcast it, whatever. Tree Chat's going to get back the full signed transaction. And then, so the Tree Chat application is going to broadcast to the Tree Chat overlay service. And that overlay service is going to handle getting this thing actually on chain. And then as that transaction runs through the overlay service, it's going to, the different topic managers in the overlay service. So in this case, a lockup topic manager is going to see that transaction and say, oh, output number 1 is a lock. And so it's going to save metadata about, I don't even know if Tree Chat uses locks. I guess I go back to the Hodlocker example. So then next time someone comes into the Tree Chat app or the Hodlocker app, and the Hodlocker app reaches out to the Hodlocker overlay service and says, hey, what new posts have locks on them? This overlay service is where the application will get that information from. Now, there's also these little dotted lines on the overlay service, which are essentially, they can all sync with each other. So if Tree Chat did want to have locks and Hodlocker had locks, there's a whole mechanism built into the overlay services that says, okay, when Tree Chat gets a new transaction that has a lock, Hodlocker can sync with that, such they both keep the same kind of universe of what are the locks that are on chain. And so right now, in the place of overlay services, we've got the one-set indexer. And it doesn't have any of this concept of syncing or anything yet, but that's definitely in the plan. So the plan is to kind of, right now, one-set indexer just still takes transactions from anywhere, organizes them, and allows you to search for them. But it doesn't have any concept of categorizing and distributing and syncing across other interfaces. And ideally, like there was some issues that came up over the weekend with some ways that Yours Wallet is currently relying on the one-set indexer. And it led the person who was making these comments to believe that there was a security hole in Yours Wallet. And how they present it, I mean, they're not completely wrong, but essentially there is at this point in Yours still a very trusted relationship with the one-set indexer. So kind of the path over the next several months is going to be really to get all the tooling out there that's in line with this concept. And I really would love to talk through more of like real world scenarios of how you use these things. Because I feel like we kind of get bogged down often in the kind of the terminology and the what these things are. But in reality, there's really practical use cases of applications for real practical use cases for how an application would interact with these different pieces. And that's kind of, so my goal over the next several months is really going to be, one, get all our stuff updated so it is the standard, and then two, walk through how all the one-set stuff, how all the Yours stuff actually works and uses these tools. And the plan is to actually dig into the one-set market site and show how it gets updated to use this stuff, and to go into the one-set indexer and walk through how it is updating to be an overlay service and how you can sync with those. Because ultimately, the big picture is not going to be ever that you're just relying on a server that I've written and that someone else is running to just provide you the information. The responsibility really needs to start landing on the user that says, you interacted with this stuff, your wallet has this stuff, you keep your backups of this stuff, maybe you pay someone else to keep your backups of this stuff. But ultimately, and there may be like these overlay services, the idea is not, okay, everything is private to me, but the idea is I do have a relationship with an organization who cares about this type of data. And as long as that organization is alive, I can get pointers to that data. I can search that data. I can share that data. And then there can be other providers who keep in sync with that data. But there isn't necessarily anything that is going to be the one-set ecosystem means you run everything against the one-set servers. Because I will say right now, I mean, to this point, everything we have is, I mean, it's architecturally built such that it can scale, but it's not infrastructurally built such that it's reliable and has long-term. Like, I'm hacking a lot of this stuff together. We've got a couple guys that are working on, I mean, people working on front-end stuff here or there. People have got regular projects here or there. We actually have to make money here or there. So, like, right now, the infrastructure is not intended to be, this is rock solid and is never going to go down and is never going to miss anything. It's largely a proof of concept that says, here's how we index these things. Here's how we distribute these things. And businesses may grow on top of them that can offer reliability and can offer 100% uptime. But that's kind of, right now, everything I'm touching is very much, let's explore how these things can work. I don't know. I feel like this whole thing has been kind of a rambling mess. But I don't know. I think I'm just going to shut this down. And if anyone wants to do a Q&A or a walkthrough in this, reach out to me. I'd be happy to actually start one back up and talk through with specific examples what all this is. Yeah, okay. That was talk to you later.